because discipline's not fireworks, it's friction. It's the boring, invisible grind that compounds into habits that really turns into greatness. That's why the person who wins doesn't really need applause. That person's addicted to improvement, not acknowledgement. They don't want a pat on the back. They want a victory.
Welcome to the Waste No Day podcast, a podcast specifically for and about the home services industry as it relates to plumbing, heating, air conditioning, and electrical. More than a podcast, Waste No Day is a credo, a determination, a mindset. It is a never-ending discipline. It is a refuse to lose pursuit. It is a wake-up call every morning to waste no day. Now here's your hosts, Brian Burton and Nate Minnick.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Waste No Day podcast. Your host, Nate and Brian, hanging out with you again. Looking forward to a great episode. This time, we're going to be talking about a little subject that might hit close to home for some of you, myself included. Depends how you're going to take it. But we're going to be talking about participation trophies in life. One of those titles that maybe draws you in to find out exactly what do we mean there, Brian. We'll get to that in a minute. First, we're going to kick it off with an introduction of just the two of us. And we're going to start it off with a quote from Brian.
The man who loves to walk will go a lot further than the man who loves the destination. Unknown, but I first heard it from Alex Hormozi.
I like that quote, and somebody who enjoys hiking, I can see what you mean.
Yeah. In no way am I referring to or promoting walking or hiking, but because how would you have energy left for lifting weights? But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yes,
there were a lot of quotes to use for this. And I don't know that one was the best fit for it, because this is going to be more about, probably more about me in my youth versus me now, where in every way I wanted recognition for my effort. Like the act of trying should be enough, despite whether you won or lost. You know what I mean?
Yes. And that's the part where it's like, okay, we're going to jump into the pool here a little bit and get everybody a little splashed up. It should be good. But I tell you what, Brian, there is something about enjoying the walk, irregardless of the destination, and kind of thinking through that a little bit. My wife and I just did some hiking in West Virginia. We did a little weekend getaway. It was beautiful. The leaves were changed and so pretty. And we were hiking around the hills and valleys or little mountains of West Virginia, close to Seneca Rocks area. Shout out to any of our listeners from West Virginia. Based upon the number of houses that I saw, not a lot of people in that area. So I don't know how many listeners, if any, we have in that area, but it was cool nonetheless. And in terms of like the hike that we were doing, yes, we had a destination, right? And so when you have a destination, specifically a circle route or an in and out where you go to, a view of the valley or of the mountain or something like that, and then you turn around and you go back to where you started from, right? You kind of have this in your head. This is what I'm here for. It's a 5-mile hike. It's 2.5 in, 2.5 out, or it's a 3-mile loop, or whatever it is. But you kind of set your mind towards that. And I tell you what, you feel good when you get there, and then you feel good when you get back to the car, and everything's great. But part of the reason that I think we can get caught in this place of celebrating the exercise or celebrating the journey itself, and there's nothing wrong with celebrating, but thinking that you're accomplishing something, is because sometimes we don't always know where the destination is. And if you kind of translate that back into life, that can be some of the difficult part, because in certain areas, like in business, in life, in those types of things, there may not be a clear destination at all. In fact, it might be a cyclical thing that you just keep having to deal with and deal with and deal with. And so some points it can feel like you're just kind of traveling the journey and walking the steps and doing all the things. And you're like, hey, this has been really hard. And, wouldn't mind getting a little bit of recognition here for the hills that we have already climbed, even though I haven't officially reached the destination, because I don't know what the destination is. And so I'll be interested to kind of dive into this topic today and talk a little bit more about what we should be celebrating and what that looks like. But before we do, Brian. You know, we like celebrating the people that listen to the show and who are promoters and who have taken the time to leave us a review. So who are we going to celebrate today?
I feel like we've celebrated this reviewer's name before. Mobile Mentorship. 5 stars. Fantastic source of information and inspiration. This last year was my first year in sales, sewers specifically, and this podcast is the closest thing I had to consistent mentorship in that time. I grossed $2.6 million in 2024, and I expect to break $3 million this year.
Hello.
I owe so much to this podcast's content and their emphasis on self-study and self-development. It only gets better from here. Thank you, Nate and Brian. Now, he left that in early February. So I wonder, it's almost November as we're recording this. So that was Achuta con queso. Achuta, and I know I had looked this up before, is a kind of a made up swear word from Star Wars.
Yeah. Huttonese.
Yeah. So, and then with cheese is the best I can decipher for the rest of it. So, yeah, there you go.
Okay. We got questions, man. It's just curiosity, if nothing else. And if you're listening, Achuta, leave us a note. Tell us the inspiration behind your username, because it's pretty funny.
Yeah, hook us up.
But thanks for leaving the review, man. And it sounds like you are actually crushing it in the business and in the home services, man. So well done. Kudos. Opposite of Achuta for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, it is time for us to kind of short intro today, but that's all right.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the listeners are going to complain if there's less of this and more of that.
Yeah, a lot of long intros in recent years.
Because we're going to bring on no guests now. So just kidding. Psych. Calling it back to the early 90s there. It's just going to be the two of us. So the introduction continues, and we're going to get right into it and head into the meat of the content, which is the provocative title of Participation Trophies in Life. So Brian, what exactly are we talking about?
We're talking about probably what ruined more potential in the last couple decades, I would say, at least, because we probably more our parents' generation, but created a generation, but it's still happening, right? That's addicted to praise for effort, being addicted to victory. So we're addicted to a pat on the back for trying to do something, as opposed to being addicted to completing or accomplishing something. It's the bravado, standing on the mountain with the bullhorn, announcing what you're going to do. And then when it's time for the really hard work that actually goes into becoming a well-respected person, or a person of high value or esteem in sales, in leadership, in whatever it is, that's where we go sideways, right? And look no further than, not calling anybody out personally, because I know some of them listen to the show, but the amount of people that I have mentored or at least helped, the show's almost 5 years old, so easily 4.5 years, that wanted to start a podcast, and they asked me for advice, and piece of advice is understand that it's going to take you a very long time for anyone but you and the people you share it with to hear your show. It's going to take even longer for it to be appreciated. And even when it is, and you're getting good feedback from it, you're going to dread for the entire day. Maybe you can fall in love with walking. When it comes to creating podcast episodes, Nate and I fell in love with the destination, but it's hard work. And you have to come up with new guests, new topics for episodes. You have to write constantly your thoughts down, or this is what I do. My notepad is full of things that cross my mind throughout the day. And I go, this would be a good subject to talk about on the show. I think people would get benefit from this, right? And when I'm giving morning meetings and the meeting goes sideways, or it just goes somewhere I didn't mean it to go, but I walk away from the meeting going, that was really good. Well, that goes in the notepad, and I'm like, this would be a good thing to talk about on an episode. And your life in a way revolves around it. So the amount of mental effort that goes into hosting, building a show is just insane. And the amount of people who, and every time they start, they're telling me how big it's going to be and they can't wait. And like, when they get to our level, we're going to swap. We're going to be guests on each other's shows and all this. And I'm like, heck yeah, especially because, when they're like, cool, like, I want you to have a good show, and I want to swap episodes. And like 3, 4, 5 months later, typically it's me hitting them up. I forget the conversation even happens, but for whatever reason, I stumble upon the person again. I go, hey, what happened with the show? And they're like, it's all the reasons we didn't want to do it anymore this morning. Those are all the reasons that podcast doesn't exist, right? And the understanding of the fact that it's like the fame and glory is like the size of a match head at the end of the day, and the work is the size of a shoebox. Even when you have a fairly successful show. Bro, Dale Steele, right? Guy that helped Ken Goodrich build Gettle as the VP of sales into what it is today. One of the best HVAC salespeople on the planet. One of the best sales trainers on the planet. Guy. He's been on Wiser Wednesday. We're going to get him on Waste No Day soon. But he FaceTimes me earlier. I'm driving and he's in the passenger seat of a car, and he like turns the phone over to the dude driving, wrong side of the car, mind you, and then to the radio, and he's like, he's in Australia going to help an HVAC company. And he's like, I get in the car talking to Brian Burton, like speakerphone. He's like, oh gosh, you're not listening to Waste No Day. And the guy says like, yeah, like the whole team listens to it. And I'm like, it's awesome. And you look in blue collar from Canada, UK, Australia, and it's really cool that it reaches this far. But it's like the kudos are short and spaced out. The work and the effort is constant. It's constant. And, I was talking to Jared Williams, the wealthy plumber, about the school group. And he's like, man, you got to know, like, probably like Waste No Day, the bigger blue collar closer gets, the more of you it's going to consume. And it was funny because, like being the general manager of a plumbing team, even as small as we are, it's like, it is like that, right? But we've been in leadership, you and I, for so long, for 12 years together. Like that's half our lives. Like we just understand it. And the phone's never going to stop going off. And it's like, that's just part of being on a leadership team. But Waste No Day just kind of morphed into that while we weren't paying attention, I felt like. But then talking to Jared about another thing being consuming like that, and I was just like, ugh. I gotta think. But what I do is I try to integrate everything all the time. So it's not 3 separate things, but all 3 things are working together at all times, right? So Wiser Wednesday is quite a bit of work, but it's helping me train my team on Wednesday morning, and it's helping grow the show and blue collar closer, and like all these things are kind of working together. So they're not separate worlds where I don't feel like I have to put different hats on at all times, but hopefully everything is helping build our plumbing team. And the more I can integrate my wife and kids into them, which I'm doing quite a bit of these days, is if you were on Wiser Wednesday with Tommy Mello this morning, you saw Tommy say hi to Clara. She wrapped her arms around me. But then the more I feel like I'm just living my life, right? And the whole balance. We talked a lot about the balance myth this morning, Tommy and I, on Wiser Wednesday, because I got asked by a couple 20-year-olds recently who aren't married and don't have kids, what about life balance? I'm like, you haven't earned balance. Like, at what point do you think you've hit the level where you're owed balance in life? Like, it's the Brian Tracy quote that really changed the game for me. He's like, in the beginning of your career, until you've made something of yourself, you're a plane on a runway. You want to put it in cruising speed and just put your hands behind your head on the runway? You're not getting off. You're just going to run into a building or go into a cornfield, right? You can't put it in cruising speed until you get that plane off the runway, up into the air, up to cruising altitude, and then you can throttle back, put it in cruising speed, and put it on autopilot. But ask yourself if you're there. Do you feel like you've made it to that level? And Amelia and I have been doing some planning for, I'm 46, and I was pretty abusive to myself. And we had to answer the question, like, what does cruising altitude look like? And one big thing for me is like, if I disappeared tomorrow morning, other than the obvious massive loss of me for Nate Minnick and my family, which I know would crush you.
And the dozens and dozens of listeners.
Waste No Day listeners. Sounds like about a dozen of them are in Australia. Yes. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Hey, shout out all the Aussies.
But if something happens and I'm gone, financially speaking, will the family's life completely change for the worse? If the answer is no, like we're set up to that point, that has a decent cruising altitude feeling to it, right? Another one for me is like, if there's a part of what I do that I despise enough, that brings me enough pain and anxiety, can I walk away from it? And financially, we can be okay. If it's just not worth it anymore, right? And that could that could be Waste No Day. It could be Blue Collar Closer. It could be the on-sites for teams I do. It could be the Waste No Day boot camps. It could be the plumbing team. But if something like that was to happen and I just go like, this isn't, like, life's too short, it's not worth it anymore, could I walk from any one of those and still be financially okay? Cruising altitude, right? And I might be there, but I sure don't feel like pushing the throttle forward. You know what I mean? Now we're climbing. I want to see if we can get this plane to the moon.
Yeah. Yeah. And when it comes to that, Brian, the most energy a plane's going to use is what it takes to get off the ground. And that really that's the issue, right? And so, listen, I'm sure you out there in listener land, there's many different variations of ages and career paths and accomplishments that are listening to this right now. And if the encouragement that we have here is, always keep seeking more and keep finding what can make you better. But like for those of you getting started in, whether it's in your career or whether it's just in a different season of life or maybe a new job, a new role, a new position, maybe you're a first-time dad or a new husband or whatever, like there's still going to be newness. And every time that there's newness in your life, whether it's in a new role, new position, or just a new season of life, like you're going to have to take the plane back off again because you're on a different runway. Like, yeah. And so it kind of breaks the analogy, but like you're the pilot of multiple different planes when it comes to things, when it comes to your career, when it comes to your life, your marriage, your parenting, you're flying multiple planes. Some of them, for some of you, haven't left the runway. You might not even have boarded the plane yet. And I guess the encouragement that I would have is in all those areas of newness of your life, really focus on understanding that the initial part of getting that plane from not moving to pouring down the runway to getting lift off is going to be a lot of work. But I tell you what, as a parent of 4 children myself, now the youngest of which is 6 and the oldest of which is 12, it's still a challenge, right? There's still busyness of life, but it is not near as hard as the toddler years, the infant years, the getting woken up 5 times a night, the crying and, not knowing what to do and all that stuff. Like that's just a whole nother thing. So, okay, I've completed that phase of parenting and now I'm into a new phase of parenting, which is like, rebellion and disrespect and teaching moral compass and decision making and like all these other things. And this is new. Like these are new things. We didn't have to worry about disrespect when the kiddos were 2, because it was just all lovey dovey. And now, we got some boys who are hitting some adolescence and working through some things, and we got to figure out what that looks like. So I got to get back in the pilot chair and I got to hit the thrust a little bit because we got to fly a new plane up into the air. The old one ain't going to do it anymore. So wherever you're at listening, if you're starting something new, realize that you're going to have some work ahead of you. And I don't think that's typically surprising. I'm not really trying to be profound in that. But like you can't start something new and expect that the same effort that got you there is going to be sufficient for whatever the new portion is. The only thing I can think about there would be like you're on your deathbed. Okay, that's new, and you probably won't have to put a lot of effort into it moving forward.
Sounds
But
so
man, I tell
relaxing.
you what, even in
Do
retirement,
we get a TV on our deathbed? And I want like all the apps.
right. Yeah. I mean, even in retirement, I mean, my dad is, 72, 73. I think he's said he's retiring like 3 years running now. He still keeps working. But, I've heard it said, and I think it's wise counsel, that you don't retire from something, you retire to something. Because like man is not created to just coast. Like that's not what we're about. And I think if you just like, if you're counting the years until you can no longer work, until you can quote unquote hang up your boots and call it a life, like you're viewing things incorrectly. And so there will be seasons of life, there will be transitions, there will be differences and newness and all that, but find ways to keep progressing and evolving and maturing, man. Like that is so much value to pursuing that. I was thinking about a meeting that I had, it was a couple of months ago, but I tell you what, if I'm the same leader, the same man, the same person, the same husband, the same father, the same son a year from now that I am today, and there's been no growth, how sad of a commentary is that? I don't want to be celebrated for stagnant life. And I sure don't want to be complacent in accepting that as a given or an acceptable outcome. And this comes, like my life isn't all cherries. I'm not saying that I'm dealing with like incredibly hard things or anything like that right now. But like there's areas of my life that are a struggle, that I feel like I'm getting my teeth kicked in right now. There's areas of my life that I would say like, man, I am functioning at like a 3 out of 10 in that area of life right now. And it just feels like a gut punch every day. And yet, my hope is that on the other side of this, there's growth. On the other side of this, there is some level of maturity that will be gained, even with the experience. Even if the experience is losing, there's still some level of maturity to be gained. Because I tell you what, you want to talk to people who really have words of wisdom to say. Don't talk to somebody who's done nothing but win in their life. Talk to people who have failed, gotten back up, and continued on. And I was listening to a podcast tonight about one of the hostages that was held in the Hamas tunnels for like 450 days. And, the interviewer was talking about like, how did you do that? It was just like, I mean, you create a routine. You wake up, you sing some songs, you say some prayers, like you look for some little joy or whatever to focus on. I'm like, man, I don't know if I have that type of like determination, just raw grit. And so it was challenging. It was challenging hearing that.
Yeah. Well, especially the women held there. Like,
oh my word.
Yeah. On a little more positive note, Bill Gates had a great quote about exactly that. He said, "Success is a lousy teacher. It seduces smart people into thinking they can't lose."
Yeah.
Yeah. Tommy was talking about that on Wiser Wednesday this morning. He's like, when people tell him he's lucky, oh, you're lucky, you made it. It's like, he's not been lucky. He's failed more times than you've started.
Yeah.
And that's true. Like I've said before on here, I have seen him throw himself into so many new things and different ventures that didn't work out, but like it's almost like he steps over it and just keeps going on to the next one and on to the next one. And he's always willing to just go try something new and become something new. But yeah, and I think the problem, as we kind of started off with recent generations, would certainly be that kids were told, especially our generation and more recent generations, you tried, and that's what matters. As long as you did your best. And then we wonder why adults can't finish what they start, because it's crazy rare now, right? For someone to be able to call their shot and then actually work as hard as it takes to become that thing. It's almost non-existent at this point. Effort praise is the thing I kept coming up with. Because it's like, when have you ever seen someone try as hard as they can, do their quote unquote best, and actually fail? I mean, I'm sure it happens, but I can't think of an example.
Yeah, I would say there would always seem to be a level of effort that was not the highest peak.
Yeah.
Like, there was some area that could have been more.
Yeah. And I can certainly report back on myself and the things that I wanted to do and didn't get done. And I can look and find pretty easily places in my effort where I could have given more and knew I could, but chose comfort, momentary comfort, and quote unquote rest and decompressing or whatever. But effort praise is quicksand. It gives us just enough dopamine to feel like we're progressing while we're actually sinking. We get high on other people's approval for what we're trying to do as opposed to getting high on the achievement. Like James Ling said, don't tell me how hard you work. Tell me how much you get done. Enough with the effort praise. Our brains fool us into believing that discipline is built in short, fiery bursts of motivation. Like when I did 75 hard the first time, which is actually when I quit drinking in 2020, I had 7, 8 people that were starting it with me. And they were rock hard for that 5 hard. But I don't know if anybody made it past the first week with me. Because it's not built in short, fiery bursts of motivation. That's not discipline. That's motivation. That's just blind motivation. Discipline's it's forged in long, dull, repetitious tasks that we don't feel like doing anymore. It's like you've been to the gym a handful of times, hopefully around the first of the year. I know no matter what city, no matter what state I'm in, even if I'm at a hotel, in January, the gym's going to be a zoo. I know it's going to. But I also know that by Valentine's Day, it's back to the old gym that I love. All those flash in the pan, fireworks, motivation people are gone. Because discipline's not fireworks, it's friction. It's the boring, invisible grind that compounds into habits that really turns into greatness. That's why the person who wins doesn't really need applause. That person's addicted to improvement, not acknowledgement. They don't want a pat on the back. They want a victory. They want to win. The participation trophy mentality says, as long as I tried, I'm good. But it's a lie. And everyone listening to this knows that's a lie. Because what do you accomplish by trying a little bit? Trying is just the doorway to the gym. Walking through it every single day, that's discipline, that's mastery. And that's where we're trying to get to. It's like, dude, I can post a picture of me on an incline bench tomorrow morning at 4:40 in the morning. And I don't know. It's like, I'll get like 14 likes, right? It's like, who cares? I do this every day. And everybody that knows me knows I do it every day. There's no, it's a total so what. And that's where I needed it to get to for me to keep doing it every single morning, no matter what. Rain or shine, sickness and in health, till death or disability do us part. No, death. Because even like Ronnie Coleman, dude can't walk. He's still curling dumbbells in a wheelchair. And I expect that I'll be that. But everybody's fired up day one. Everybody posts the pic. Everybody tags the challenge. #75 hard. Gets the likes. But that's not any kind of transformation. The transformation doesn't happen in like that pump up of excitement. It happens on day 63 when nobody notices, nobody claps, nobody cares, and we show up anyway. So I say, if you're going to do something like 75 hard, don't even make a post about it. Why tell anybody? Tell a few people that are close to you for accountability maybe, but don't celebrate. There's nothing to celebrate. You haven't done anything. Celebrate on day 75. Day 76. Yeah. Do a reel with you cracking a beer, eating a piece of pizza, throwing all your books in the trash. Done with all the show your abs and say, this is the last week I have these. It's game on.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Brian, and I think there's a lot of value to that. The part where I'm struggling, probably personally, and this is me just trying to be exposing my thoughts here, is sometimes the result does not feel commiserate with the effort.
I know what you mean. In everything, even everything we're doing together right now, right?
I know somebody who she wants to lose weight, and she freaking works out and she eats well and like she does the right behaviors and she beats herself up.
Did you get her with Dr. J?
No. And that could be the thing I've talked about, potentially like it's hormonal or whatever, but like, whether it's weight loss or whether it's something you're trying to accomplish in business, or whether like you feel like you're putting in the work in your sales career or your technical proficiency or whatever it is, and you feel like I'm logging the hours. Like I can't imagine like I'm not sure how much more time I have available to devote to this area of performance or expertise. And so like you're kind of left with this, okay, well, am I supposed to accept what is, because this is the amount of effort that I can put in and here's the results, even though it's not the results that I want, like this is what I'm allotted towards it. It's frustrating to live in that place when you're like, dude, it's not that I'm not putting in the work, I'm going to the gym, I'm working out, I'm eating well, like I'm doing the right behaviors. It's just, it's not following through. And that's where I'm like, dang, when you say, well, don't go looking for participation trophy, you little pansy. It's like, dude, yes, there's areas that needs cleaned up in, but there's other areas where,
right, but you're like some level of improvement would be phenomenal. Like something.
yes,
Give me
like,
something.
I am freaking tearing it up here and it just ain't happening.
Yeah. I don't remember when this was, but I was having a conversation with a doctor about weight loss and saying like, now I didn't know, I wasn't educated enough back then to know that as I was putting on muscle, I was, a handful of muscle weighs more than a handful of fat, right? So
Sure.
you put on a little bit of muscle and you negate the weight loss of double the amount of fat. So I was looking better, but I wasn't losing any weight. But one thing a doctor said to me was like, well, how long did it take you to put on all the extra weight? And I'm like, like 4 years. It's like, okay, well, look at it like this. It very well may take you that long to take it back off. Now it won't. It won't. But if you look at it like it will, now all of a sudden when you see progress, you feel like you're really accomplishing something. So he said to look at it like that, and I enjoyed that. And yeah, turns out I was doing great. Saw some pictures, some before and after pics, and I was like, oh, I'll keep on putting on weight if this is what this is what's gonna happen. I got shoulders now and stuff. Like this is traps. This is awesome.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the most effective things, specifically around the idea of like weight loss and or bodybuilding or like that, either whichever direction you're going, is before and after. Because it's just like, you don't see your kids growing, and then all of a sudden you take them to grandma's and they're like, oh my word, like your head's touching the ceiling now, and you're like, oh, I don't know, I guess he is getting a little taller or whatever. Like you don't conceptualize it because it's happening so slowly and you see them every single day, so like you don't recognize the change. Same thing with like weightlifting or weight loss. You take that before photo, and 3 months down the road or 6 months down the road, when you're like, dude, I'm not seeing any gains here, you take that after photo, or you go back and you look at the before in a mirror and you're like, dude,
yeah,
there it is. Like, yeah, I mean, it's not where I want to finish. I'm still on the journey, but I've gained ground here. And I think there is good relevance to that.
It is a good plug place for Dr. J's. Like, look, if you're grinding, you're working out, you're eating 10 times better, you're not seeing the scale move, and the mirror is looking no different to you from 3 months ago or whatever. And particularly, like if you're 23, 24, you're not working hard enough, but you're late 30s, early 40s, 50s, whatever. That's a good place to get a hold of someone to get a hormone panel done. And Dr. J, Dr. Jerem Ipsum, who's on this show, well, shoot, we have a link. Like if that's you and you just want to find out, shoot us an email, service@wastenoday.net, and we'll shoot you a link, which was, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's a discounted rate to get your hormone panel done by him. And he'll show you exactly where you are now, exactly where you should be, and how to craft a plan for extreme longevity, like how to get into your 70s, 80s, 90s, feeling like you're in your 20s and 30s. And with so many people, we talked about this on his episode, with so many people I know here, including Tommy and Bree and Josh and Laura Kelly and several others, they ended up getting with him and found that all the work they were doing was nothing compared to the imbalances in their hormones, and me included, and my wife, a few of our guys at the shop. But yeah, shoot us an email, service@wastenoday.net. Let them take a look at what you got going on. And yeah, it's really easy. He shoots you an email, you print it out and take it to a lab corp or whatever near you, and they give you a blood test and send it to him, and he calls you up and you have a conversation. So it's easy peasy. So yeah.
And I think to kind of summarize what I'm talking about, Brian, like it's the plateaus. That's the word that I want to use. It's the plateaus that get where I'm like, did somebody just celebrate me and the work that's going in here? I know I'm not gaining ground, but I'm not losing ground either. And I'm just slugging it out. And like, that's where the participation trophy cuts close to home. Cause I'm like, man, there's areas of my life where I feel like I'm on a plateau. I've been on a plateau. The future that I can see looks like I'm staying on that plateau.
Yeah, but you've been, what are you, 42,
I'm still
43?
working really hard. I'm 40.
40. Okay. You're 6 years younger than me?
At this time of the year, and based upon Arizona's lack of celebrating daylight savings time, yeah.
Isn't it awesome? I know you're mad. Yep. Our time does not change here, ever. It's just always the same. It's phenomenal. So, yeah, I would say you've been through enough in 40 years, especially in a decade with me, where we didn't feel like we were getting anywhere. And then, boom, we just smashed through a doorway, right? And didn't even realize it happened. Like we were leaning against that doorway and it opened and we fell over sideways, right? Because we so little expected that thing to open, and then we just busted through. And, I'm feeling like that with really every aspect of everything I'm doing right now. I actually texted my wife today, which was part of the reason I told you I wanted to go with this concept. I texted Amelia today and said, boy, I would love to see all of this work pay off in like big wins in the near future in one aspect, in just one of these things, right? And, she's kind of more of a 30,000 foot view, when in doubt, zoom out person. And she's just like, what are you talking about? Like, we're killing life right now. Like we're doing pretty well. Like it's a fun ride and we're kicking butt, but you're just grinding so hard. I talk about it with my team often, but one way to get a win is to use the cryptocurrency quote that everybody always says, which is when in doubt, zoom out. Like a lot of people just got wiped on Bitcoin here in the last couple weeks, right?
Yep.
And if you're holding it and you see it go down 4 or 5%, it feels like the end of the world. But just look where it was 4 years ago. So when in doubt, zoom out. How you really doing? Not on this like, oh, this month our net profit took a beating, or this month I had a crappy, let's say I had a crappy October, But where are you at over the past 2 years? Where's your career at over the last 3, 5, 10 years? However long you've been in a truck or in your role. When in doubt, zoom out and ask yourself a real question. How am I doing really? Right? Am I really doing so badly, or is just a little bit of a stutter step? Or could this be one of those moves like everybody just wants to be flying in the air when we're jumping on a trampoline, right? We all just want to be enjoying that part where we're suspended in air. But without the part where you fall back down to the trampoline and sink into it, you can't be propped up into the air. And just assume that right now could be one of those ones. The longer it takes and the further down that trampoline drops, the higher that bounce is going to be. And this could be the really, really fun one where we really go vertical and come real close to that electrical line.
Hey, I'm just hoping that my heart survives, because I don't know the last time you were on a trampoline, but that is some high impact cardio right there. Jumping.
It's my knees for me.
Yeah, man. And kids just get on there for like 30 minutes solid.
No stopping, fall off the side, hop right back up. Yeah, we buried, I don't think you were ever at, Oh yeah, you were there where we buried our trampoline before we left Lancaster.
No, but yeah, I know people that do that. Yeah.
Yeah, we had the 14-footer and we had the screen and the net and everything, and kids just found a way to freaking fly through it and end up laying on the ground crying. So we had
Yeah.
we had a backhoe come out, and Pat, your excavator out there,
Oh
came
yeah.
out and dug a
Yeah.
hole for
Yeah.
us, and we sunk that bad boy. Yeah. So anyway, don't know why we got onto that, but yeah, execution begins when the applause fades. Like we all kind of secretly know it. And if you're in that rut, which it's great that Nate is feeling that right now, because it's a good thing to come back to say, like, hey, this all sounds good. But the reality of the feeling right now is like, I've been pushing this sled for so long and I still can't see the horizon. Like, I still can't see the place that I'm supposed to be pushing it to. So what gives? And it's a little bit different than what we're talking about, because we're talking about stop craving recognition for showing up and stop craving standing ovations for small, furious spurts of effort, and start really craving the results, the long-term results of staying in the game and keeping your head down and going hard. Trade the good jobs for good outcomes, the trophy for truth, right? So that's really what we're talking about. It's like, what are you really doing? What are we really doing? Like, if your head's down and you're going ham, and you have no question, you can ask yourself straight up in the mirror, am I giving it my all? And the answer is yes. Well, you're like almost there. And right now, every hour, every day, every time it's Monday morning again feels like forever. But like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you'll look back at all this as like a blink of an eye. And 10 years from now, you would be screaming at you, don't you dare think about giving up right now, because you're like, right, you're just about to cross that finish line. And hey, the finish line is nothing more than the starting line of the next race for sure. But man, the feeling of the overwhelming feeling of conquering, winning that comes with every one of those finishes is so worth the next race.
Yeah, and I'm thinking through that, Brian. You said like you'll look back and say it's a blink of an eye. I don't know that I agree with that in every scenario. I think there is going to be seasons of life where you look back and say that was hard. That was long and hard. And that's life, man. There's no way around that. Yeah, there's going to be the times when you look back and you say, yeah, man, that sucked, but like we got through it and on the other side. I think there's also times in life when like it's just you're in a grind. And maybe that's where it finds you right now. Again, I go back to the fact that like on the other side of this, there is maturity. Like there's maturity in going through the rut, even if it is a rut. Like even if you are just in the grind it out phase for a long period of time, there is maturity on the other side of that, because there's maturity in the discipline of doing that. Like I think about, these people who do like ultra marathons, 100-mile races, or what's the sled thing up in Alaska, Brian? The Izod?
Oh yeah, what is that? Icarod or something like that?
Yeah. Ichabod Crane. I don't know, something like that. But it's like that 21-day dog race or something like that. Let's have our producer look that up, Brian. But anyways, like, just the grind, like the grind for long periods of time. Like there's value to developing the grit that it takes to sustain in those areas, because when you go up against your competition, let's be real here. So listen, in certain areas of the country, maybe in a lot of areas of the country, costs have gone up substantially. Equipment, material prices are crunching up, and price points have to follow. And there's absolutely some companies getting crushed out there right now because of that. And there's companies that are far more mature and developed that are sustaining the storm, if you will. And I don't know which one you're a part of, but the companies that are going to last, because everybody is seeing that same crunch, the companies that are going to last are the ones that could sustain the grind for the longest period of time. And you can take that to a personal level too. Like there's going to be technicians and plumbers and roofers and electricians and everybody else who, they're going to bump up against a storm, a metaphorical storm, if you will, and say, this is too much. I'm opting out. I'm turning in my boots. I'm going to go find pastures elsewhere. And it's the company, it's the technician, it's the person that is able to sustain and grind out crappy situations and circumstances the longest that gets to the other side of it and is surviving. And then on the other side of it, many times is a thinner market, less competition, better pastures, like whatever analogy you want to draw. But because of the ability to sustain through the tough times, you create the survival of the fittest, if you will, right? Like the plants that can survive through the droughts are the ones that have the deepest roots. And those are the ones that are going to be able to sustain the longest periods of drought because they have been forced over the course of time to send their roots deeper and deeper and deeper, looking for that water. And because of that, they are a more mature, more strong, more long-lasting, healthy plant. And that's the encouragement for you. So if you're in a trough period right now, if you're grinding it out, if you're on a plateau, keep going. And if you're riding high on life right now and like it's great, awesome. We celebrate with you. Understand at some point you will find yourself on a plateau as well.
Kind of celebrate.
Like, dang it. Wish I could get some of that.
Yeah.
How about you celebrate with me?
That guy hit a plateau too, for crying out loud.
Yeah. I tell you what, man, like, there's seasons in life, and like just even speaking that out loud brings some perspective if you're going through it right now.
A little therapeutic for you there.
A little therapeutic. Yeah, sure. So good. Okay. You got anything else, Brian? We good?
Yeah. I think this will be probably a bit too late for boot camp. By the time this one airs, we will have recently finished the first ever boot camp on the beach in Fort Lauderdale. But we will be having another Waste No Day boot camp soon. So we'll keep in touch about that. I will say that right now, if you had any interest in checking out Blue Collar Closer at bluecollarcloser.com, we're running a 7-day free trial right now. So you can get in there.
Ooh, a little trial close. I see. Okay.
You can check it out. You can't see all of the content because a lot of it is behind the paywall, but like the second you hit your first paid month after the first 7 days, you get access to everything. But you get full access to the community, which you'll find pretty quickly is, to me, probably the best part. Now, me being the person,
top notch.
I've been using the GoPro selling system for piecing it together and using it for 20 years. So that's not really new to me. But if you don't have a process or your process sucks, you'll love the GoPro selling system. So the classroom will be a big deal for you. But the community is just rock solid in there. They're just constantly in there hyping each other up. And people go through things like what Nate was talking about a few minutes ago. And in that community, and people try to pull them out of it. And we've even seen people get together locally as a result of that and enjoy some bourbon and cigars and post pictures of it in the group and role play, which is what we should be doing when we get together. So yeah, check it out, bluecollarcloser.com. And you get a 7-day free trial right now. We're not going to keep that on forever. So hurry up and check it out. Good to see you, Nate. Keep your head up, bro. Let me know if I can help.
Yeah, man. And this is a good episode. We'll call it a wrap here. We hope that you enjoyed it as we kind of just dialogue out loud some realities of life, which is, hey, let's not seek after the praise for, just trying. Like, let's seek after the prize. Let's be continuing on, but also while realizing like, hey, that can be a long, painful struggle. So keep pressing on there, find some accountability in your life, go join Blue Collar Closer, get up in there and look for people who are looking to celebrate and help you along the way. And hopefully this episode has done that too, in realizing that, there's real people on the other side of these mics as well, right? And like, we got things that we're trying to do and we're trying to push through too. So we're all in good company here. And that seems like a great place to leave us at the reminder this week, this episode, to choose to wake up each and every morning and waste no day.